Esports is supposed to be estimating it next year at a $1 billion company.
Damn, that's a lot of money.
S-Mania, what's that?
Esports.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what you're
Is that
talking
why
about,
all
Corey.
these esport guys keep getting
And then,
commercials?
They're trying.
Not even. I mean, not even that. There's the guy who plays FaZe for the FaZe clan. He had his little thing on Snapchat talking about how he had his new Lamborghini Urso or Urus or whatever.
Damn.
$280,000 SUV basically, and he had it imported. Like, this guy plays video games for a living. He had it shipped over, and he had to wait over a year for it. But like, he has that kind of money.
Yeah,
Jesus,
that's crazy.
Money, man. Media gives you hella
Maintenance.
money. What he should have done, I don't know. I'm not gonna count people's pockets, but what they should have did is probably buy some, real estate stuff that doesn't depreciate so fast, kind of thing.
I mean,
If I ever made
this is how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Let's say for the streamers.
you probably got a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah. Like, let's say the streamer, like Shroud has like 40,000 subscribers a month. He gets half of that. But it's still 40,000 times 5, that's 200,000. That's $100,000. $100,000.
Yeah, online business is serious. Like, people don't understand like how much like stuff goes into
Like, what?
people actually viewing. Like, an episode of like any kind of like animated show you like, one episode costs $50,000. So it's like, yeah, put stuff in front of people's face, you start getting paid a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know how easy it is to do some stuff.
Yeah, like even the people with like only like 4K viewers, like it's
It all
like they're like, yeah. Well, like let's say 4K viewers per, like when I'm like you're watching and they only have 4,000 viewers. Like that's maybe 2,000 are subscribers at the time, but you keep that up, people are just. It was just mind-boggling how.
It's doing too. It all depends.
Yeah.
Like, they could watch the whole video.
Yeah.
That's different than like, say you got 8,000 people watching 10 minutes of your video. If you have 4,000 watching all 50 minutes, you're getting paid.
Yeah.
That's content. And speaking of content, that's what we got for y'all. This is the Long Story Short Show. Welcome, everybody. This is another discussion. It's another Wednesday. It's another week. It's another topic. It's going to be posted on Wednesday.
Oh.
All right. So what we're talking about today is the top, I think it's 13 most disturbingly violent things that have happened to Spider-Man by Jacoby Bancroft on Ranker.com. We use a lot of Ranker lists. I'm starting to notice.
Oh, I know one. He was buried alive.
That is
Or buried dead.
Wait, what?
Okay, well, we better get to this list then. So, some of these are not in continuity. I think 2 of them are outside continuity, so that means they're not in the main Spider-Man story. The numbering is awful. Marvel numbering is awful. Every time like a new writer comes in, sometimes they start at the end of a numbering system and then they make their own numbering system. So I'll try to help you guys. I got some of the legacy numbering going down. So after all that, let's just get down to it. My name's Corey. We got Jen. We got Chris at the top. Oh, this way. We got Chris at the top and Kevin
Down
here, and we're just gonna get down to it. Some of these things that they might not know about, so I'm just here to kind of fill it in all the blanks and just give me your topics and first impressions of everything that we talk about. So, number 1, Spider-Man swallows Sandman and explodes.
Wait. He swallowed him. So like when Glob tried to do his thing to the rock slide and almost swallowed him. Like
It
that?
is exactly like that.
Ew,
I'm looking at the
gross.
picture. Okay, so this one's obviously outside continuity. So, although Marvel Zombies brand should have never been taken too seriously, it would have been a shame not to mention the horrific Spider-Man death that occurred in Marvel Zombies Returns #1, the event that takes place on Earth 91126, where that world's Spider-Man is almost exactly like ours. The Sinister Six appears, and Spidey goes in to change his costume. While he's gone, the zombie version, don't ask, it's a whole thing, of Spider-Man appears and kills almost half of the Sinister Six. Sandman escapes, but then he runs into the real, still alive Spider-Man.
Why'd they say
Sandman
almost
is so
half? Why not
scared
3?
And angry that he goes into a homicidal rage, pouring himself into Spider-Man's mouth and killing Spidey by bursting out of his stomach and mouth in a huge blast. You know, if he was a serious villain, he probably should have done that years ago.
solid though, like in the context of the story. Like you don't know if that's the real Spider-Man or the zombie Spider-Man that you just saw wreak havoc. So you know what? Just to be safe, I'm just gonna kill you now.
Yeah, so Marvel Zombies was created by the guy who wrote The Walking Dead before he wrote The Walking Dead. It was basically like there was a bunch of zombies came. They turned, Marvel people turned into zombies. Even Galactus was a zombie. They ate Galactus. Like fucking a whole bunch of stuff happened. And so I guess one of the things that happened was Spider-Man exploded. So Marvel Zombies is a long thing. There's like 4 different books into it, so we can't really get too much into it right now. We might as well just go to number 2. This one has a special place in my heart because I read this comic standing at the base exchange when I was like 10 years old.
The base
at the PX,
exchange?
yeah, on base.
Dang.
Number 2, Spider-Man gets his eye ripped out and eaten in front of him.
Yeah, that happened.
Yep, in the comic series, The Other, it really sucks to be Spider-Man. See, Spidey learns he has a deadly radiation-based illness that is making him disoriented and weaker in fights. He talks to all of his superpower friends, including Bruce Banner and Doctor Strange, and they all tell him the same thing. You're gonna die.
Damn.
To make matters worse, the insane supervillain Morlun has been hunting Spider-Man at the time in order to drain his life force. In The Amazing Spider-Man 526, he finally captures the webhead, and a massive battle takes place across New York City, and after getting his butt whooped for most of the issue, Spidey summons a last burst of strength to fight back, but it's not enough. Morlun casually rips out Spider-Man's eye and eats it in front of him, and then continues to beat the bejesus out of him, leaving the wall crawler as nothing but a bloody, beaten, one-eye mess. So we're looking around 2002 right now.
Wait, the right eye or the left eye?
It doesn't.
Yes,
I would say
it
right.
does matter.
I think it was the right eye.
Yeah, left eye.
Wait, yeah.
The left eye.
Why does it matter?
We're assuming Marlon's right-handed.
Yeah, we're assuming he's right-handed. All right, so what's your guys' first impression on like the first 2 things? Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, there's a lot of entrails and guts.
Yeah.
And blood and gore.
What do you think?
Have
you ever heard of Morlun? Anybody ever heard of Morlun?
No, I haven't. But I'd never heard of the Marvel Zombies. That was pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Marvel.
No,
really
it's a pretty good run, man.
I know.
Oh man, who was it? Was it T'Challa on some shit?
Yeah, they were all. Yeah, T'Challa was actually.
I like that. He's also the Walking Dead guy too. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's definitely written by the Walking Dead guy.
That gives him like some like. For me, that gives him like a resume. For me, like I watched The Walking Dead, so I'm like, okay. Like,
yeah. A lot of these people.
These
people in their indie books, they have a lot of like Marvel and DC background because you gotta get in and make your name and then put your own stuff out there, kind of thing. So, The Walking Dead is Image Comics' #1 selling book. Number 2 is Saga, which we review on the show, which you guys could stay tuned to every Saga Sunday, or you guys could stay to the end of this broadcast where we'll be talking about it too. But might as well get to number 3. So this one is also out of continuity. Peter kills Mary Jane with his radioactive sperm. Spider-Man Reign is a 4-issue limited series.
He just got it. Where?
Following the older, retired Spider-Man 30 years in the future. It does not exist in normal continuity, but it deserves to be mentioned mainly because the term radioactive sperm never gets old. In the future, New York City is a safe zone, meaning there's no colorful supervillains and spandex running around. The city itself, however, is ruled by an authoritarian government that uses ruthless police force called the Reign. Of course, one thing leads to another, and an older, depressed Spider-Man has to come out of retirement to save the city. Throughout the story, it's revealed that Mary Jane is long dead, and in a tragic yet extremely odd twist, we learn that Peter killed her. Turns out, when you're bitten by a radioactive spider, it messes up your insides in ways you can't imagine. Peter is devastated to learn that Mary Jane has radiation poisoning, and the source is his sperm. Again, he kills a woman he loves with radioactive sperm. Okay, that was the last one. Radioactive sperm.
Okay, so why do they not talk about this more? Because I'm just thinking about like with Spider-Man, with Hulk, for example, too. Like these are both people that were in contact with some sort of radiation. So why does this not happen more often? Is what
any of Johnny Storm's girlfriends?
Yes, thank you. Yes, 100%.
Like why don't
we have all these bachelors and you telling me that none of them accidentally killed a girl by just having sex with her?
So what you're saying is that is strong logic that this guy killed his wife like that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. What do you
It
guys
follows. It didn't really happen to him though. So
I know it's not canon.
So he didn't die.
yeah, it didn't happen to him. Like he blew up, he got his eye ripped out and beaten to a pulp, and then his wife died. It didn't happen to him.
Yeah, so Spider-Man Lane was basically, it came out after the Dark Knight movie, the first Batman Dark Knight movie, and they were like, we need a darker, grittier, like Spider-Man story. So they made a little limited series about it like that. And the guy who wrote it, I guess he was just given free reign, and so he does what you do when you have free reign, and that's whatever the fuck you want.
Dang.
Yeah. Number 4. This one is in continuity. This is all too real. Spider-Man finds out that his true love, Gwen Stacy, had an affair with Norman Osborn.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, that's some shit. You missed out on that.
Not only that.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse, Jen.
She's pregnant.
No matter what physical or emotional blow
pregnant.
the universe, aka the writers, throw at our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, he always finds a way to work through it. Throughout his long story, there have been moments that threaten to break Spidey, and one of the biggest come from Sin's past. That taking place in Spider-Man 509 through 514, again around like 2000, 2005 era. This story arc changed everything that we knew about Gwen Stacy and Norman Osborn. Until then, Gwen Stacy mostly held up as a tragic figure in the Spideyverse, the girl that Peter would have ended up if Spider-Man was allowed to have nice things. Ended up with if Spider-Man was allowed to have nice things. But this, friends, this is why we can't have nice things.
Because she's Lana Luthor.
Only had an affair with Norman Osborn only 7 months before she died, but she was also pregnant with twins.
Wait,
That means
what?
dose.
Thanks
Dope.
to the Gotham serum
knew
that
it.
pumped through Norman's veins, the twins rapidly aged into adults and had their own powers and abilities. Find out the woman you love more than anything had an affair with your absolute worst enemy is enough to destroy a man. And it's an event that nearly drove Peter to the edge. Oh, plus the twins try to kill him. So that's a nice cherry on top.
Wait,
Yeah,
what?
so that one happened to him.
Wait,
Yeah, that really happened to him.
what?
Oh, what? You thought Gwen was a good person?
I thought Gwen was cool. I liked Gwen. I liked
No.
Yo, but how?
She was a harlot.
She was a whore. Yeah.
A whore.
You're a
She had sex with
McDonald,
Peter on the bridge.
Not a whore.
Oh my gosh. Poor Gwen.
Yeah, fuck it. What
Poor
happened
Gwen.
was Gwen.
Yes!
No means
Kinda like she got
no.
what she
Okay, so
deserved.
this was
No
after.
means
Kinda like she got what
no.
she-
Goblin babies.
So this was after Spider-Man first beat Green Goblin. There was like no Green Goblin for a while, and Gwen also went overseas for school. You know, like that Amazing Spider-Man 2 had. She was like, I'm gonna go study in Europe, blah 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 blah. So she goes to Europe, but who's also in Europe? Norman Osborn, and it was just his, alpha male energy that she couldn't resist. One thing led to another, and then she gets thrown off a bridge. Number 5.
Whoa.
Spider-Man.
Sounded like
rips
she
off
got what she
Gwen-
deserved.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait, that's how she died? She didn't die like in childbirth?
The only
No.
thing I would change is Peter.
How she died
I would
in
have Peter.
childbirth if she
Webber
died
and
off the
then snapped
bridge.
her neck on accident
Yeah.
because he didn't understand how to web people yet. Yeah, he got her ankle and then her neck snapped, and that's how she died.
Who? Wait, Peter? Peter killed her?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he killed Gwen.
because she
Oh,
fell off
good.
the bridge,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
she was like, "I'll catch you with this
Like
one web."
justice.
Yeah.
One web.
Yeah,
Oh, I snapped her
Norman
neck.
Did he
basically-
know?
Yeah, this was before.
Oh, when he
like
saved
from
her?
the movie.
Yeah. Also, this story comes from 2002. So before this, there was no Norman twins and everything like that. Like before that,
Yeah.
until 2002, not. But basically, since the 70s, Norman found out who Peter was. He was like, okay, I know he likes Gwen. I'm gonna throw Gwen off the bridge. I'm gonna make you make a choice. Gwen or these other people. He chose Gwen. He tried to web line her leg. She snapped her neck because you can't catch people
Can't
like
do
that.
It ain't no bungee cord.
Yeah, and that's how he learns. Hey, you gotta be careful when you're fucking captured.
Her
That's his
head
main
was
lesson.
off that fucking pavement.
Yeah.
This was after her dad died, and he was like, "Protect Gwen, never let Gwen die." So yeah, that really fucked.
Yeah, so then he
Yeah,
let her dad die, and then he broke his promise to her dad, and then his ex or current was out fucking his worst enemy, and then had twins that grew up at super speed, and then went and attacked him and tried to kill him and almost succeeded.
And the worst thing of all,
And then he killed her.
Mary Jane knew the whole time and didn't tell him. What a bitch. But they weren't husband
Did
and
he
wife
know?
anymore. So
Did he know when he tried to save her?
what's up?
Did he know that she was pregnant with her kids? With
Not until 2000. Not until like 2000. I'm gonna say like 2005. Not until like 2000. Whatever this is.
she was
Yeah, 'cause
7
the
months
kid-
along and he never noticed?
Yeah. Okay, so I know the marriage breaks in 575, and that's like in 2006.
Right.
This shit says this is in 509, so I'm thinking like 2002. Yeah, so before this,
Or maybe he
nobody
thought that
knew.
maybe Peter
Yeah.
thought they were his.
Before this, Gwen Stacy was just a girlfriend at the college that got thrown into the wrong situation, and then somebody was like, "We can do more with that."
Yeah, I'm kind of
I
with
feel like this
Kevin.
is
I'm
more
kind of
story.
with Kev on this, man. If you throw a 7, 8, 9-month pregnant chick over the edge, you probably would see that.
She
But then
already had
again,
kids.
she probably had the kids
Oh,
That's
earlier.
what I'm
Kids already,
saying.
yeah.
Like, did she have the kid? Okay.
Yeah, she had the kids already. She tried to get rid of the kids, and Norman was like, "No, those
I
are
would
my
try to get rid of the
kids."
Oh.
kids too. What the heck?
Norman's like,
They're
"No, you're having
godless.
those kids. Those
Oh,
are my
so
kids."
what? So
First of
Peter
all, we
just
don't
didn't know
abort.
that she was pregnant.
What's up?
It's her choice.
Peter didn't know she was pregnant.
He not until 2002. Like she got thrown off a bridge in the 70s. Like
No, that's what I'm saying. though. Is like okay,
No,
so
no,
for 7
no.
months he never saw the girl.
nope.
Norman
She was
Osborn
in
taking care of
Europe.
his girl.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
This is how we
Nice.
found out that he had kids. Like fuck it.
Classic.
Some people attacked him, and he took like some of their DNA slices. It had like his DNA in it. And it was like, dude, you got
Hey,
kids.
when you go, he fly you to Europe. I mean, that's not your girl anymore, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Nah, man. Good luck with
Oh,
that.
shit, that's the world's girl. That
Yeah,
girl
you-
belongs to the world.
yeah, yeah, man. She a traveler now.
That's your
Number 5.
world tour or your
Shit,
girls
traveling.
tour.
Number 5.
That's your girls tour.
Spider-Man rips off Craven's wife's face. This really
Wait,
did happen.
the
God
Craven
damn.
and the wife that's coming back in that other comic.
Oh, you mean the bitch who was always trying to heal him in the show?
Craven, yeah. So Craven had a
Damn,
wife.
Dr.
yeah.
Kafka or something
Yeah.
like that?
So Craven had a wife. Basically, Grim Hunt. Basically, after Spider-Man revealed to everybody in Civil War that he was like, Tony was like, "Hey, tell everybody you're Spider-Man. Reveal your face. Let them know you're on my side. You're Spider-Man. You're the people's person. Once they see that you take off your mask, everybody be on our side." So Spider-Man.
Shut up, Tony. You got money.
Spider-Man takes off his
Whoa.
mask. He gets a cool new suit from Tony. Immediately after that, somebody snipes Aunt May. And she's dying in the hospital. And so Spider-Man's like, okay, fuck this. He puts back on his black suit. But this is back before the black suit was a symbiote suit. Like, he used to have a black suit. And then they made his symbiote suit.
Yeah.
So he always had that black suit in storage. So he brought that shit back out and he started fucking people up. He started ripping people's faces off. He started beating up the Kingpin. He started doing a lot of cool shit. Number 5, Spider-Man rips off people's faces. Spider-Man's friends are important to him. The rule is simple. If you hurt them, you'll be in more than just a wisecrack. And the web, more than just a wisecrack and a web to the mouth. That's really the message of the Grim Hunt storyline, which sees Craven's wife, Sasha, assemble her family to take revenge on Spider-Man and resurrect Craven from the dead. They end up killing Kane, a spider clone who Spider-Man was close with, thinking that he was a real Spider-Man. They use his blood to bring back Craven, and when Peter finds out, he becomes consumed with rage. He vows to hunt down Sasha and make her pay. He doesn't kill her, but he ends up using his strength to literally rip her face off, leaving a horrible scar in the shape of a handprint. He'll have no fury like a Spider-Man scorn. He even almost killed Craven and would have done it, but one of his psychic friends appears and tells him that if he kills Craven, he'll set him on a path to be a ruthless killer. Spider-Man spares his wife, but once again doesn't even apologize for ripping off her face. Somehow it doesn't seem like that storyline will make it to the big screen.
Damn.
Yeah, so you remember in the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire when he was late for the bus, so he started hitting it on the side and then ripped it off? Yeah, that's her face.
Yeah, that's basically.
I was like, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. Whoa.
Bruh, what?
Whoa.
Number 6, Spider-Man literally gets turned into a giant spider. Have you ever thought to yourself, I really like Spider-Man, but I'm not a real huge fan of the man part? Well, then in Spider-Man Disassembled, in Spectacular Spider-Man 17, Spider-Man faces a villain known as the Queen, a villainess who controls spiders. She wants to make Peter gross.
Wow.
Oh, she wants to mate with Peter because of his unique genetic makeup, and although she kisses... wow.
So she tries to mate with him and like make out with him.
And she turns him into a spider. She basically kisses him and like starts turning him into a spider.
So, wait, how?
Well, there's
So
venom
now she can
and there's
control
stuff in her saliva that causes a mutagenic change in the person that's already a
Saliva is
mutant.
catalyst.
Ooh,
I'm turning that
for change and transformation. Ooh.
Ooh.
So she was making out, putting her tongue down and pinches down his throat and just shooting all that venom and shit down, and then he just grew out a couple more arms and shit.
It was probably all sloppy. She's probably a sloppy
There's some eyes.
person.
Dude, his eyes must have split, like divided each. Like, oh, that must have hurt.
Ew.
Or they probably just grew like
I think he
pimples.
just grew more eyes. Like they just.
Could you imagine
popped
6
out.
more arms growing though?
Yeah.
Oh no, fuck that.
They did that
No,
on the
fuck
90s
that.
show. He's like, oh, my sides. He thought he had like
I know.
appendicitis or something.
Yeah, he had to cut open holes in his like fucking suit.
Yeah, and like 2 of
Wrong
them were
hand.
spidey arms.
Yeah,
2 of them were
like,
spidey arms. 2 of them were like the ripped arms. Like,
I didn't make my suit for this. Number 7, Kraven the Hunter buries him alive for 2 weeks.
Yep. Yeah, you heard that right. 2
2
weeks. He should be
weeks?
dead.
You know how they're
He's
trying to make
dead.
a Kraven movie? This is what they're trying to do.
He's dead.
Yeah, if you bury anybody for 2 weeks, they're pretty much dead.
He's over there trying to just do.
you think
No.
that? Remember that. You think that. Don't
But-
overestimate it. Don't
Yeah,
underestimate it.
they toiled the soil so air got through.
One of the most celebrated Spider-Man stories of all time is the famous or infamous Kraven's Last Hunt. Spanning 6 issues, it brought Spider-Man to a much darker place than ever before. This story revolves around Kraven the Hunter, a relatively unpopular villain at the time, coming up to New York to prove that he can beat Spider-Man. Rather shockingly, he succeeds in every way. He outwits and outfights Spider-Man, injects him with a powerful drug to keep him comatose, and buries him alive for 2 weeks. That's basically the villainy hat trick. Kraven then dons his own spider suit and dispenses brutal justice to New York's criminals, tarnishing Spider-Man's reputation. Eventually,
Don't forget he
Spider-Man
ate
wakes up and
spiders.
has to dig himself out. He goes to fight Kraven, but it's too late. Kraven has already won. After getting everything he wanted, Kraven commits suicide. Guess that's one way to go out on top. Yeah, so that's Kraven's
No,
story.
it's not.
He
Wait,
really.
so they're gonna make a Kraven movie, and then that is not gonna fly.
Nothing they do is like
Look,
so.
look, Jen. If they make a Craven movie based on this story, Craven's probably gonna go to jail
Yeah, they're definitely gonna change the ending. They're not.
and bring him back
That's
for like a
not
Sinister
at all.
Six type of thing with Mysterio,
That would actually
with the
be
Runt.
so
Yeah,
I think that'd be. I think that'd be really good. Actually,
Don't be mad.
don't be mad.
I would
Here we go.
put Kraven in and take like Shocker or Electro out.
Solid, they do that.
Oh, okay.
There's a
I
lot of
was
different
like, don't be
Sinister
mad.
Sixes. Yeah, no.
yeah.
Shocker can't
Shocker
beat them
does.
all
Yeah,
Probably one.
Shocker's not the most sinister of his rogues.
of the 6.
There's more than 6, but he's not the most sinister, so he gets benched.
All right. Next one. Spider-Man gets his face bashed in by a rock. So this happened during Infinity War. The first Infinity War. The real Infinity War. And who did it? Well, it was none other than... The Infinity
Cap?
Gauntlet is a powerful artifact in the Marvel Universe that basically allows the wielder to do whatever they want with reality. For example, having a guy you know bash in Spider-Man's face with a very large rock. That's a little something called creativity, folks. In the comic Infinity Gauntlet number 4, pretty much all of Earth's heroes go up against Thanos, the big bad to end all big bads. As the Mad Titan is destroying all the universe with his reality-altering powers, our heroes try their best to stop him. In the end, Spider-Man doesn't even have the honor of being killed in a spectacularly awesome way by Thanos, but instead dies slightly off-panel with Thanos' minion, Terraxia, turns his face into a puddle of spider mush. Fortunately, he gets revived at the end of the series, but it was still very disappointing, albeit in a brutal way. So, the reason why he had to die like that off-panel is because if you don't kill Spider-Man like that, he lives forever. He has spider sense. He does not get hit. He won't ever get hit unless you either distract him or just say, "Hey, they got hit." Like,
Or exhaust him.
yeah, or exhausted.
Yeah.
Like, in all like these like
Good luck with
badass
that.
fights, like all these like crossover events, it's like, oh, it's Spider-Man. Who's it? Because he's got spider sense.
Huh.
Yeah. In that book that we really liked from Secret Wars,
Yeah.
Renew Your Vows, that's why he was last. He was the last hero because that guy took all the other heroes' powers, but he kept dodging them and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All
And
right.
then he shares them with Mary Jane.
Number 9. We got a couple more, folks. Spidey won't do it, but Peter Parker would totally kill the Kingpin. One of the most pivotal moments in the original Civil War storyline was when Spider-Man unmasked himself to the world. It was a bold move that invited pretty much all of his enemies to come knocking on his front door. You'd think he'd go unlisted at that point, but whatever. The story arc immediately following Civil War deals with the repercussions of his unmasking. It was called Back in Black. It showed Peter donning his black costume again as he deals with the almost assassination of his Aunt May. Gone is the wisecracking, lovable neighborhood Spider-Man, and in his place gave us a humorless, angry, kind of dickish individual out for revenge. In one of the most violent moments, Spider-Man finds out that the Kingpin is behind the assassination attempt, and Peter follows him to prison in order to settle things. When he gets there, he says that Spider-Man isn't there to kill the Kingpin, but rather Peter Parker is, and he takes off his mask and outfit and proceeds to beat the snot out of the Kingpin. He tortures Kingpin until the crime lord begs for his death. Peter says he won't do that yet, but he will if Aunt May ends up dying. Aren't comic books fun?
Nice.
Whoa.
No.
What'd you say, Kev?
Go with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have no problems
Solid,
with it.
right?
Good for him.
Whoa.
Yeah, took you long enough.
Took you long enough.
Finally.
So number 10.
What took you so long, kid?
So
Yeah, you could have been put him
Oh,
off the
my bad,
streets.
my bad. Hey, but would
Hey,
you
May
guys,
would ever be in this mess.
would you guys honestly, would you guys kill people if you ever Spider-Man? Not like everybody, like fucking everybody that robs a bank, but like Kingpin,
Oh yeah, man. Some people gotta die.
Doctor Doom.
Hey, man.
Kevin's face. He's thinking about it.
Hey
No,
man,
it's just like
Dr.
I mean,
Doom
but
will probably kill me.
I understand it.
How about the
I
guy that
understand
ate your
it.
eye?
Just
Huh?
because, like, get it. Like, at the same time, you have to weigh these more, like, the morality.
Look, man, I'm not Superman.
Superman's over there.
You're talking to the wrong guy. I'm here for results. I want
Needs
results.
to be safe.
We call that collateral damage.
So
We call that effective.
number 10, the start of
Less
the
people to
Ultimate
protect
Universe
if we
was
kill 'em
when
all.
Ultimate Spider-Man number 1. On
Oh,
issue
wow.
number 150, he
Oh,
died.
wow.
On issue number 51, we got Miles. So number 150 is also like the origin of Miles.
Oh, jeez.
Number 10, he straight up gets murdered in the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, it's bad. It's fucking bad. Like,
And in front of everybody.
I'm just gonna tell you how it happens, then I'm gonna read it. The Green Goblin, like the one from Spider-Verse, the big goblin-y looking one,
Yeah.
picks up a fucking car and slams it on him in his front yard. In front of
In
everybody.
front of everybody.
People are out
Everybody's
on the
out there on the lawn and shit, cheering them on, like, you gotta do it. You can do it. No, that's
Yeah, because
dead.
yeah, and it's
Whoa.
like Green Goblin was like, you know what? I'm sick of this little shit. I'm breaking out
just-
and I'm killing them. And then
You just see the
thing
kid with the
was-
cup after that.
The thing was, Miles already had his powers at the time, and he was in the crowd watching, but he was afraid. And so that's where his great power comes, great responsibility comes from, because he literally watched Peter die because he could have stopped the Green Goblin at any time.
Just like on
Yeah, and he
Spider-Man.
could have went invisible the
With his
whole
electric shock.
time,
Yeah.
stung him a few times, gave Peter the opportunity to get out of there, recoup, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He just watched, wide-eyed, afraid,
Yep.
by Aunt May.
But what was his?
And later he comes back and Aunt May gives him like the web slingers and stuff, and
Yeah.
he's like, Peter would have wanted you to have these, so it's all cool. It's all cool. It doesn't matter what universe Peter Parker is in; things aren't going to go well for him ever.
Nope.
Existing outside the main continuity, the Ultimate Comics were able to take liberties with certain characters in an attempt to appeal to a modern audience. For Ultimate Spider-Man, this culminated in one storyline the main continuity could never follow through on: the death of Peter Parker in the Death of Spider-Man series. One horrible thing after another leads up to the ultimate sacrifice from Spidey. Oh yeah, before this, it was just one villain after another. He's fucking tired. He's like worn out. He's injured.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad. To kick things off, he saves Captain America from being shot by the Punisher, only to be shot himself in the process right before this. After that, some villains notice how injured he is, since the bullets hurt a bunch, and attack him. He gets his ass handed to him by Sandman, Vulture, and Electro before being saved, somehow, by Aunt May. Ridiculously injured Spider-Man then has to face his greatest enemy, the Green Goblin, in order to save Mary Jane and Aunt May. On the verge of death, Peter uses his last of his strength to pick up a gas truck and smash the Goblin with it. Oh, my bad. Opposite. Gas truck exploded. The truck explodes, and Peter is too hurt to get away in time. Surrounded by the people he loves most, with internal organs that probably look like hamburger meat, Peter dies. Ultimate Comics were awesome. Like, Gwen Stacy lived in his house for a little while.
Yep.
Like, the Human Torch and Bobby Drake, Iceman, lived in his house. He dated Kitty Pryde.
Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, Ultimate Comics were awesome. Good job, Ryan Michael Bendis. That was your heyday. Best thing you ever did was that and Jessica Jones. And a bunch of
And Mary Jane was jealous like shit, but she came from a beaten, rundown home and shit. That shit was bad.
Ryan Michael Bendis did hella good shit in the early and mid 2000s. And then it started getting a lot worse around, like, you know, Avengers versus X-Men and like his X-Men stuff. He just started doing whatever. It's like, okay, man, stop.
This is a check.
All right, number 11. Spider-Man kills Gwen Stacy. All right, so we already talked about
damn.
this. You can't make a list of the most brutal things to happen to Spider-Man, not include the death of Gwen Stacy. It was a moment that cemented Spider-Man forever as a tragic hero. Taking place in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man 121 and 122, Spider-Man faces his greatest challenge when Green Goblin abducts Gwen Stacy and takes her to the Brooklyn Bridge. Fun fact, in the original comic, they state it's the George Washington Bridge a few times, while the art clearly shows the Brooklyn Bridge. Liars. The two fight while Gwen is unconscious. In a total dick move, the Green Goblin tosses Gwen off to the side. While it looks like the end for Stacy, Spider-Man frantically shoots a web and snatches her before he hits the ground. Hooray, the day is saved. Not quite. Peter's happiness over his saving is short-lived when he discovers Gwen's dead at the end of his web. At the time, he was positive that the Goblin killed her before he tossed her to the side. Over time, however, it became apparent that Peter killed her in his haste to save her. The web that he shot snapped her neck with the recoil, like a powerful bungee cord. Now that would have made a great lyric in the, I don't know the last thing, it's some song. But yeah, I went back and I read like a lot of those old Spider-Man books, like back when we had Marvel Unlimited. Yeah, it was really quick. And then like after like he was like, oh no, Gwen, and then he took her to like the police station. I guess he was having like problems with himself because they're like, who killed him? And he was like, Spider-Man killed her. And then that's when it was like an APB out for Spider-Man. It's like, okay, I get it, how I guess you could feel like if you weren't Spider-Man she would not have died, but no, like the nigga threw her off a bridge. Like,
yeah.
He tried to save her, and he just wasn't successful.
You can only try. Like
quit being so dramatic, Peter.
You can't save everybody.
Yeah, you try. I mean, if I would have found out about the twins, I would have been pushing the bitch off too. But I mean,
all right, don't you?
I would have jumped for the other people, not her. Like more fish in the sea.
Oh no!
Hey, do you need a date for
got a leg.
Valentine's Day?
All right, this is the last one. I thought it was 13. It's actually 12. Spider-Man gets played for a fool and then electrified by Electro. Marvel Knight's Spider-Man comic series was written with more mature slant than the previous Spider-Man titles. It didn't last an incredibly long time, but the issues it did print made a hell of an impact. The story begins with Spider-Man locked in a brutal battle with the Green Goblin, as they are wont to do. That guy, typo. Okay.
Are known to do.
Beating each other to a pulp, the Goblin is placed in jail. Peter thinks everything is starting to look up, but when he gets home, he finds his beloved Aunt May has been kidnapped through a citywide search. His hunt leads him to the man known as the Owl. Nice. Who tells him that Electro and Vulture kidnapped her. In a rage, Spider-Man finds the two of them and massive fight breaks out. Spider-Man then learns that the owl tricked him and was only using him for his own needs. In that moment of realization, Electro was able to blast him off a skyscraper, and he goes tumbling all the way until he hits the ground.
Whoa.
His wounds are so severe that he has to be taken to the hospital for emergency operation.
Whoa.
Did they keep on his mask?
No. It says that they know who Aunt May is. So Marvel Knights, that was around that time. Around like 2005 time. So they did his
Yikes.
Yeah, his person
And,
or his
Are you next
Spider-Sona,
of kin?
like they all know who he is until One More Day happens. That's in like 2008. One More Day happens, they erase the marriage to Mary Jane. So the last 20 years where he was married, that's all. They were just really, really, really close roommates that dated.
Didn't just
Yeah,
Mephisto
and then
took it.
everybody
Yep,
forgot
Mephisto
who the
took it.
fuck he was unless he goes about telling everybody who he is and
Yep.
says, hey, I'm Spider-Man, or I'm
That's the
Peter
only way they'll
Parker,
know.
like he did in
I don't remember.
And then
Spider Island.
First X-Men.
Yeah, Spider Island.
Nice.
No,
All right.
Avengers vs. X-Men, right?
Said,
All right. So other than that, yeah, that was all the Spider-Man. That was some of the most disturbing things that have ever happened to Spider-Man. We are the Long Story Short Show. We do like to talk about lists that they print on the internet. We like to, bring them around, see if they actually do pretty good against our ranking system. The official ranking system. So, what do we think? What do we think about this one? Are these pretty bad things that happen?
I was very distraught.
Yeah,
Very.
a little unexpected.
Yeah, like I thought Gwen was good this whole time. Like this whole time, I thought she was a good person.
I mean, she is a good person, but at the end of the day,
No,
she's a
she
person.
not.
Like, she a
I
person.
give it a B.
Just because this nigga's
B
on the
minus, maybe.
honor, don't mean she's special. Like,
Yeah,
he's
man.
also
Just because
dating
they
a model.
omitted
Like, what the
information
hell,
doesn't
dude?
mean
Like,
that she was good.
Mary Jane's an actress model. Like, that girl's dead. Get over it.
Tuh. Yeah, what was she even
World's a
good
better
at?
place.
World's a big place. All right, well, Chris, what do
Plenty
you
of
think about the
fish.
list?
Yeah, B minus B.
B minus B?
yeah, it's
What were you thinking? What kind of situations were you thinking about more?
Well, it just seems like I think I counted 2, or maybe it might be a little bit more, where they didn't even happen to him. He was just adjacent. So I was like,
yeah.
I guess.
yeah. Like I'm thinking like when Aunt May got cancer twice.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like,
That's-
I feel like they just wanted to talk about like him beating down the Kingpin. Like nothing happened to him in that one, I don't think.
Yeah,
No.
I agree.
That was just like a real dark thing that happened. Like the Kingpin, like
He was just
did
in a
something
dark place.
to him, and I guess that was the
Nobody
last
knows.
straw. And he's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna be bad.
What about you, Kevin?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I thought the killing them with spider cum was weird.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I I feel like that didn't belong on the list just because like I'm looking for gruesome. Like I'm looking for somebody to
pull out
break
his
your
eye.
arms.
Pull off their
Yeah.
face off with a hand.
Yeah, like go like Kingpin, just go berserk. Like there's plenty of them. Like where they bury Peter Parker and how they talk about how he's the greatest one of them. But I didn't never remember spider sperm
you don't
being
like
on.
how it just brought him down.
Yeah.
It humbled him. God damn.
Like he's like, I have to wear protection. Like, that's
It's like, all right, I don't
that's
trust
my
spiders
burden
anymore.
to bear. Is I have to wear protection.
Yeah, man. It's like you're a professional superhero. Pull out. Like, when are you gonna raise the kid?
That's how you
Like,
could tell your dad was gone. Nobody told you.
Yeah, no one told you how to wrap it up.
yeah,
Skip
man.
that day in school.
All right, well, yeah, that was the 12 actually most disturbing, as ranked by Crank, Screen Rant, Crank.com, whatever it is. We will be back next week with another list. Give us a comment, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Let us know what you want us to talk about next. I'm thinking about hopping over to DC, talking about some of the best Justice League Unlimited episodes for next week. So we're gonna put a pin in that one. And we'll come back to it.
Nice.
Personally, one of my
Yeah.
favorite ones is the ones with the question. The guy with the mask and no face.
Nice.
Badass. Because Lex beats the shit out of him.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, in
Definitely come
the
back.
He's like, Lex, I
Unlimited,
figured out your plan. He's like, so what?
Justice League
So
Unlimited, bro.
So
He gave him the
what?
fucking
So
hand,
what?
and then
I don't
Huntress
care.
just took his mask off, and he's just another fucking
like-
redhead. God damn it, another redhead.
Yeah, he was a ginger. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah,
All right.
So you too?
Yeah, but yeah, everybody, this is a long
You
story
too.
short show. We appreciate you
You
guys
betrayed
watching.
me.
Please stick tuned if you are on Twitch because we will be talking about
That's
Ant-Man
funny.
2 right now. It's been a while since it came out, almost a year, but guess what? We just saw it, so we're gonna talk about it. And now.